called Get Some, and it's a show about health and human sexuality emphasis. So we always do this once a month, and we just pick a topic that we think might be of interest to you, or sometimes students tell us topics that they want. And tonight's topic is called Safer Sex. And we brought in an expert in safer sex, and her name is Amber Brown, and she's from Planned Parenthood, and she's a senior community educator, so it's kind of neat that she could share her expertise with us. She goes all around Berks County and speaks at schools and events on issues of sexuality. Okay, so that's what we're going to do tonight. But, yes?
Sorry, this is the Be Healthy Week.
Yeah, oh yeah, so this kicks off Be Healthy Week. You're right. And this is our first event for Be Healthy Week. I should say that also. So we have lots of fun things going on. We have tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday outside Tully's. We're doing, it's National Depression Month. So we're doing all different types of screening. Depression screening, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and bipolar. And that you fill out a form, and myself and the counselor here on campus, we do a quick screen. So come and visit us for that too. And then also on Wednesday, we'll do a Know Your Numbers in Health Services, which is room 8. And there we can do your height, weight, body mass index, and blood pressure and tell you what all those numbers mean. Okay? So lots of fun things. And this is very informal. So if you have a question, address it while it's burning on your mind. Don't wait till the show's over, okay? Especially address it while we have Amber here, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll start. And I have prizes for those of you that are interactive, that ask questions, okay? So that's fun. Yes?
So is there any way you can like check my name off now? I have a class at 6:30.
No, I can't do that right now. I'm sorry. So, okay, well, let's start. Anyway, so it's called Safer Sex, like S-A-F-E-R. So, Amber, tell us why. Like, usually we think that, I don't know, usually don't you think of the term safe sex, not safer sex? So tell us what is safe, why do you call it safer sex, your talk?
Well, the only way to make sex safe is to, like, have your partner across the room. Anytime that you're doing any kind of sex play where bodies are rubbing together, or where fluids are exchanged, there's going to be some sort of risk for catching sexually transmitted infections. So we try to stay safer because we're all about reducing the risk that you're willing to take. I can tell you what safe sex isn't. Safe sex is not, hey, do you have an STI? No? Great, let's go. You can't just ask somebody and assume they're going to give you an honest answer.
Even though communication is important.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And they might not know. Right?
They might not know. They might not have been tested recently.
Yes.
So just assuming that your partner, because they had a clear STI test 2 years ago, that they're still okay, is not a good idea. And I actually read somewhere recently that 1 out of 3 people who's infected with an STI will tell you that they're not, just because they want to be sexually intimate with you. The sad reality is that, I don't want to hurt any of your romantic ideals or break any hearts, but sometimes just because you love someone and they say that they love you doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be as honest with you as they should be. So, the best thing to do is take care of yourself first, and even if you want to trust your partner and you've got a good thing going, you've got to make sure that you're protecting, your body. Your body is your temple. You only get one. You've got to keep it as safe as you possibly can. So how do we do that? How do we do that? The first and best way is to choose not to have sexual contact with somebody else. Have you guys ever heard of the term abstinence? Right? Yes? Okay.
It's probably drilled in your head.
Into your head, right? So when people say abstinence, what do they mean?
Quitting to have sex.
Okay, what do you mean by sex? Okay, what kind of intercourse?
Sexual intercourse.
Okay, that's what I'm kind of pulling at. I honestly, all over the place, I ask everybody this question, and I get tons of different answers. I actually went to a training for adults who do what I do for a living, all about abstinence, and they had us pull out our cell phones and call the first 3 people we had programmed into our phone and ask them what their definition of sex was. So here it is, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm calling my mom, my grandma, my little sister.
I was aunt, whoever.
Right, good morning, Mommy. I have a question for you. But I got 3 different answers. And I think that's pretty typical across the board. Did you guys ever see the show 19 Kids and Counting with the Duggars? Okay. So in their family, they don't use any kind of contraception or protection. That's why they have 19 kids. But before they get married, they practiced abstinence. A couple of years ago, their oldest son had a wedding episode. And it was, a typical wedding. I do, kiss the bride, smooch. That kiss they had at their wedding, very first kiss ever. In their family, abstinence means you don't kiss on the lips until after you got a ring on your finger. Now, there's other people, right? There's other people I've talked to that will say that abstinence means you can do whatever you want as long as you avoid penis in vagina intercourse. 2 very different definitions of abstinence, right? Right? So which is the correct one?
You want an answer?
Kinda.
Depending on your ideals. It's whatever you think is what you want, whatever that is okay by you, I guess.
Oh, you're absolutely right. There's not going to be, an abstinence person peeking over the end of your bed with a dictionary. You're defining abstinence wrong. You have to know for yourself what you think sex is and what it isn't, what your boundaries are, what they aren't. Now, when I talk about abstinence, I'm not coming from a religious or a moral point of view. I'm strictly trying to help people stay disease-free. So I consider my definition of abstinence sort of the bare minimum. And anything else you want to add on top of it, more power to you. So for me, abstinence is a conscious choice to avoid oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse, or rubbing your genitals against anybody else's without a barrier between. If you avoid those 4 things, your chances of getting an STI are vanishingly small. Now let's say that you do not want to choose abstinence as your protection method. Your next step might be something we call outer course. Have you heard of that one? Okay. So if intercourse is sex play with penetration, that's what people usually mean when they say intercourse. Outer course is all the other sexy stuff you can do that doesn't involve penetration or doesn't involve sharing a whole lot of fluids with a partner. So it could be something simple as calling up your sweetheart, hey honey, what you doing tonight? Talking sexy on the phone, or throwing on the webcam and how you doing tonight? Or giving each other massages, or slow dancing, or making out for an hour. All these things are really romantic and wonderful and awesome. They're the spice of life, and they're not going to give you an STI. Now, if you are going to be sexually active, if you are going to have the kind of intercourse where you're sharing body fluids or where you're rubbing bodies together, what do you do to make that a little bit safer?
What do you think?
Using
For some things. Go ahead.
Using a condom?
Yep.
That's a big one. Yeah.
No barrier.
Anything else?
Having partner message.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
Yeah. You and your partner get tested. And what else between you and your partner? Talk.
Yeah, I would say your first step is a good conversation.
Yes.
Now, I know I kind of threw that little statistic about 1 out of every 3, infected people lying to you, but that means 2 out of 3 are going to tell you the truth if you ask the right questions.
Right.
I think it's a great idea to speak with your partners about their history. How many partners they've been with in the past, if they've done anything risky. It always surprises me how many people can get caught up in the heat of the moment and be having really intimate, naked time with someone, but they can't actually have a conversation about it. I feel like if you can't have a conversation about sex, you shouldn't be having it. Now you said getting tested. How often do you do that? What do you think? What's a good roadmap for that? Yeah,
Well, it depends on how much you have sex.
maybe.
The doctor told me every 6 months because even though you have sex with the same person, you don't know who that person is having sex with.
Right.
So you should still get tested even if you guys been together for years.
Yeah. Why? Do you know why they gave you that sort of 6 months ballpark? All right, I think that one was kind of developed because of HIV. Have you heard about the window period for HIV? All right, didn't even tell you that. From the moment you catch HIV to the moment it shows up on a test, that's the window period. The period where it's in your body doing its thing is possibly infectious, but we can't tell if you have it or not. So, if I catch HIV tonight, Would I know if I had it by Christmas? Maybe, maybe not. It takes 3 to 6 months for HIV to show up on a test accurately. Now, if I catch HIV tonight and meet someone this weekend, could I spread it to them? Sure could. Sure could. So what they recommend is that for people who are sexually active and pretty careful with what they do, getting tested once a year is probably a good idea. Just to make sure that your tests are up to date, that we're finding anything that may have been hidden from the year before. If you've done anything risky, if you've had intercourse without protection, or if you've shared needles with someone, you should get tested every 6 months just to make sure that, or if you have a new partner, just to make sure that there's nothing new. And like you said, some of the risky things that are happening might not be your fault at all. It might be something that your partner is doing. There's kind of this meme that like if you're monogamous with your partner and you're faithful and you wait for the right one, that you're not going to get any risk for STIs. The truth of it is, it's not always about your behavior, it's about your partner's behavior.
And Amber, don't you think that sometimes it's easier for our females to get tested because they're getting an annual GYN visit or maybe going on oral contraceptives and they have access to that, but sometimes it seems to me that our male students are gypped in the sexual health arena.
Yeah.
They're not asked, hey, do you want to get checked? Or they're not sure where to go. Or so maybe we should talk a little bit about Planned Parenthood, a little bit about health services, what we offer in the lines of testing while we're on that. In health services, we offer a urine test, and that test for chlamydia and gonorrhea. So we can do that for men or women. So that's simple. It's just you come in, you pee in a cup. The test is $12 because that's what we pay for it. And then if the treatment is free. So actually if you would have chlamydia or gonorrhea, and they're both transmitted sexually and they're bacteria, and we can treat that with certain antibiotics. If you have it, we can give you the treatment for free. The other thing we can do is blood testing. And blood testing can check for HIV, syphilis, hepatitis. So I think someone who's never been checked before, especially our male population who really probably is very rarely offered that at your family doctors, a nice way to go is to be checked for chlamydia and gonorrhea because a lot of times you have no signs or symptoms. And then the other thing, if you feel you're at risk or you may have had an exposure, you're not sure of your partner's history or it's been over a year, you might want to go with the blood testing as well. But you don't have to come to health services. You can if you want. You can also go to a facility like Planned Parenthood. So why don't you talk a little bit, Amber, about the services that you offer regarding STI testing?
Sure. We test for quite a few STIs. If you have no symptoms at all and you just want a peace of mind test, we do it's a $50 test where we just test for chlamydia, gonorrhea, HIV, and syphilis. If you have symptoms for something else, we can check that out specifically. And it may be herpes, pubic lice, et cetera, all the cooties that are out there, right? And anything that you have that's curable, we can cure it. Anything that you have that's treatable, we can help treat it. The best idea is whether you go to services on campus or you come to a Planned Parenthood. The idea is just to go somewhere. There's also Burke's AIDS Network that is in the city. That's another option. The important thing is to make sure you get yourself tested. Now, women, it is a little bit easier for us to get tested because we do have our annual exam. But I want you to make sure you know that you're not automatically getting tested when you get exams. Make sure that you're asking for it and double checking that your doctor is doing that. If you had a pap smear, you've only been tested for one STI. They're testing you for pre-cancerous cells in your cervix that can be caused by HPV. But just because you've had a pap doesn't mean that you've had a gonorrhea test or a chlamydia test.
Anybody have any questions about the testing? So your options are health services, Planned Parenthood, Burke's AIDS Network, and then there's another one that I refer some students to, and that's the Reading Hospital has a clinic as well. So they're the 4 that are local and close for you, and sort of the price is right.
Yeah, and I know at Planned Parenthood, many of our services are on a sliding scale based on your income. So if you're a broke college student, you can really get the hookup from us. We'll do, between all of us, we'll do our best to take care of you, so you don't feel like you can't get tested because you can't afford it. There's a lot of help out there from you.
And I have all those contact numbers in my office, so feel free to get those from me. Anybody have any questions about how to get tested? What's the most common bacterial sexually transmitted infection? Anybody know?
Can I take that?
Yeah, sure.
Chlamydia?
Yeah, very good. How about the most common viral one? It's a virus.
Those are the ones you can't get rid of.
No, go ahead, Karen.
Herpes?
Well, some people will say herpes, but there's another one too. I think herpes is a very close second. What about HPV? And that can cause genital warts or cervical cancer in women. Did you know that?
I guessed that under my breath.
Did you? See,
You had
she's
it.
so
I
bad.
knew. But HPV is one of the ones that you're in luck. There's a vaccine for it,
Yes.
and you were the perfect age to get it. It's called Gardasil. It's a series of 3 injections you get in your upper arm over the course of 6 months, and it lowers your chance, women, of cervical cancer by about 75%, and it lowers chance of genital warts in men and women by about 90%. So it's something you might want to consider looking into. They recommend it up to age 26, so strike while the iron is hot.
And men can get that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many of you have maybe even already been immunized. We had it here in Health Services, but we don't anymore. We had we had it for free for about 3 years. Yeah,
That's cool.
through the Obama stimulus package.
Mhm.
But that ran out. But if you wanted that, excuse me, we can help you find a facility where you can get
Yeah,
it.
we do it Planned
Yeah.
Parenthood, so.
Oh, you give
Yeah.
it a Planned Parenthood? Okay, good.
So now, other than testing, the other thing that can lower your risk is using a barrier method like a male condom or a female condom. Now, condoms are not perfect, but they're pretty darn great. For some of the STIs, they can lower your chance of catching them by 70% or more. The thing of it is about condoms is they only work if you use them correctly and consistently. So if you've had intercourse 10 times and you use condoms 8 times, that's not consistently. And correctly, well, you would think that condoms are not rocket science. You know, you open it up, you roll it on, bada bing. But actually, there's a couple of steps in there that people tend to make mistakes with. So I was hoping to show you how to do it correctly.
Yes. Why don't you?
Why don't Well, the other thing I wanted to show
Hey,
you.
she brought these really cool condoms in.
Yeah, I have party gifts for
This
you
is a
too.
brand called One, and it says roll one on. It has like a peephole on it.
You know, one of the things I suggest for a sexually active college student, because now is the time in your life when you're experimenting with all sorts of newfound freedom, and one of the ways you often will choose to experiment is with sexuality, is to make sure that you're prepared for whatever may happen. And one of the ways you can do that is put together a little safer sex kit for yourself. For under $40, you can have a little go-to bag that you keep with you, making sure that you're not caught up in the heat of the moment without protection. Because that'll be a time when you're less likely to rein it in, so to speak. You may make choices you hadn't planned on making, especially if, and I mean no offense, if there's any alcohol involved. We know that people who mix alcohol with sex are more likely to engage in risky behavior. You're more likely to have sex you hadn't planned on having, or riskier sex than you planned on having. Or you might forget that you promised yourself that you would use a condom this time. So, if we could put sobriety into your safer sex kit, that would be great. The other things you want to have in your safer sex kit are female condoms, which I'll show you how to use.
We carry these in Health Services for free. Male condoms and female condoms. So you can just come in and take them. We have all kinds of educational literature too. Yeah, and oral barriers. You can show them oral
yes, I am,
barriers.
yes. There are just regular latex condoms. These are the ones that most people are used to. They're made of like a rubber latex. For every 10 boxes of condom at the store, you'll probably find 9 of them are rubber. And they're great. There's all sorts of different brands out there, different shapes and sizes and colors and textures and flavors. We want you to, while we know that they're safety devices, if you can think of them as, elbow pads and knee pads and helmets and safety belts, we also want you to have a little fun with it. So it's okay to think of them as also an accessory. They're like a new pair of red pumps. They're a new fedora. Right? You get a little bit of swag with your protection. So there's the plain ones. They also have these polyurethane plastic condoms, or sometimes they're nitrile. For anyone who's allergic to latex, if you've ever, if you have a latex allergy, you would know. If your doctor touched you with a latex glove, you got a rash, you didn't feel so great. Latex condoms will do the same thing to you. But a polyurethane plastic condom, not so much. Now, for every 9 boxes of rubber, you might find one box of the plastic at the store, but I know that I've seen them right over here, whatever direction we're at Target. I've seen them there. Durex Avanti Bear is the big brand I keep seeing. And I do have some of those with me today as parting gifts for anyone who needs them.
So, and you want to use, like latex would be your first choice unless you have an allergy.
Right.
Then the polyurethane or the nitrile would be your second choice. Why not animal skin?
Yeah, the animal skin condoms.
Anybody know why?
They have animal skin.
Yeah. Because they're a little more porous. They'll probably protect you from pregnancy, but not a sexually transmitted infection. So you always want to go with the polyurethane or the nitrile
Absolutely.
second.
And the lambskin condoms, the animal skin condoms, they smell funky. And they're not very cute. They look almost like a hollowed out hot dog. You don't want
Yeah.
them. The other thing I would put in a safer sex kit is a condom for oral sex. They could be flavored, like this chocolate flavored condom, or they could be just non-flavored and non-lubed because some lubrication tastes a little not like something you want to put on your ice cream. So there are different options out there. Why might you want to use a condom for oral sex? What do you think?
Because you could still get an STD, but then through like your mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. You're at a relatively high risk for some of them. You can get chlamydia and gonorrhea in your tonsils. You can get herpes on your mouth and syphilis sores in your mouth. And there's even a risk of HIV that way. So you definitely want to protect your mouth. If you're going to perform oral sex on a man, you have to wear a condom. But what if you're going to put your mouth on a vulva or an anus? That's a big one. Cleanliness doesn't cure you of STIs, but hygiene is indeed important, especially if you're putting your mouth on an anus because there's E. coli and you don't want to, an STI that makes you throw up, that'd be a different story. What you can use is a latex barrier, like this Sheer Glide Dam.
And we have these also.
They've got fabulous instructions in the back. These are fun. We sort of burgled these from the dentist industry. We made them funky, colored, and flavored. So it's a big rectangle of latex. If you're going to use this on a partner, you would put some sort of water-based lubrication on the back, like, KY jelly, Astroglide. And then you put this up over on your partner's parts. And your mouth is on this side. So it should feel the same for your partner, but any sort of infected fluids or skin cells that they have aren't going to be touching your mouth anyway. Now, I know these are a little bit hard to find. So if you happen to be across campus and you can't make it to her office, or it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you can also sort of home remedy this one. If you take a male condom and snip the tip off with a pair of scissors, and then put your scissors to the hole and snip, you can unroll it and make a tiny little latex barrier. Or you can use non-microwavable saran wrap.
Oh my god.
Who knew?
Who knows? Now, absolutely. Now, we said about using lubrication with that. This is a latex dam. They do make polyurethane ones, I believe. But
Yeah, and I don't have polyurethane ones.
But the plastic wrap would be.
The female condoms, nitrile. Female condoms.
But unless we're talking about the female condom or anything that's plasticky, you want to use water-based or silicone-based lubrication with condoms. So these sort of little pillow packs you can get, or they'll sell big bottles of these at the store, usually right next to where the condoms are. What you want to steer clear of is anything with oil in it. Anything greasy that you put on rubber will just eat a hole right through the condom, making it more likely to break and break a lot quicker than you would want it to. So random things that you find around the house, like Vaseline, baby oil, chocolate sauce, yeah, olive oil, anything like that. Yeah, anything with oil in will destroy rubbery things. Just like if you ever had bubble gum in your hair, you could get it out with peanut butter. It's the same sort of. There's a tip for you. It's the same sort of concept. Anything oily will destroy your condom. So you want water-based or silicone-based. Now, I'm sure the ladies would be just happy to carry a little kit like this around, but guys, I don't know if you're going to carry a little purse. One cool thing that I've seen is they do sell condom wallets. So you can carry this little with you, you can fit 2 inside. It's much safer than tossing these at the bottom of your book bag or trying to keep a condom in your back pocket in your wallet. If you carry your condom in your back pocket in your wallet, your body heat will start to deteriorate your condom. You don't want it to hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit because it starts to make the rubber break down. So don't keep it in there. Don't keep it in the glove of your glove compartment of your car in August because the heat will destroy the condom. The best place to keep it is in a condom wallet or sort of loose in your front pocket, or keep it, in your sock drawer when you need it. All right, so putting on a condom.
Where do you get those condom wallets?
Aren't they cute?
They have it pink or zebra.
They might. I honestly got mine like in massive bulk. So if you feel like road tripping and come to Planned Parenthood and ask for Amber, I can hook you up. I also sell them at the Gay Pride that happens in Reading in July. You can always buy this sort of thing online. I've seen them at CVS every once in a while. Just kind of have to shop around. I also have gone sort of like crafty with it, and I have a little tiny version of this box that I can fit about half a dozen condoms in, wrap a rubber band around it, throw that, and you can put in those little Tupperwares.
Amber, how far away is Planned Parenthood from campus?
Not very far. I mean, you
What would
couldn't
you
walk
say?
it.
Yeah.
3 miles.
3 miles.
Are any of you familiar with Reading? Have you been into the city?
Yeah.
We're very close to the bridge where you first get in. There's a big Reading library on 5th and Franklin. We're 1 block closer to Rack on 4th and Franklin. So it's 48 South 4th Street. Now, a condom. When you get this latex condom, as long as you're not allergic, you want to check the expiration date. This one's good until March 2014. They have a pretty long shelf life. To make sure that it was stored properly, you should check to see if there's a little pillow of air. It should feel bouncy and slippery. If it's dry or brittle or like sticky when you take it out, it's no good. When you open it, don't go at it with a pair of scissors or a butter knife or chew on with your teeth. It's really easy to nick it and destroy it. Or if you got acrylics on, I try to push it down to the bottom of the package. Then when I'm tearing up here, I know my condom is safe down at the bottom. Now when you take it out of the package, this is one of the first places people mess up. Let's say that this is a penis, and I go to put it on like so, and I go, oops, it's upside down. Let me flip it over and try again. If I flip it over and try again, what's on the outside of my condom?
Germs.
Germs for sure.
Fluid.
Yeah, fluids. They could have germs in it, could have possibly sperm in it. So your partner's not protected. So you want to make sure it's going in the right direction by unrolling it once. That's how you know it's going in the right direction. Or just sort of visually, you don't want a mushroom, you want a sombrero. Mushroom bad, sombrero good. So everything you just unrolled, you would pinch it. Not a little like, ew, it's slimy, like dainty pinch, like pinch it all the way down to the ring, show it to his boss. Your goal is to make sure that there's no air bubbles in your condom. So with one hand you're pinching, and the other hand you're rolling down. Now you have to have an erection to put a condom on, just the way it goes. So with one hand you're pinching, the other hand you're rolling all the way down, and then you release. So your mantra is pinch, roll, release. I can't release this from the table, but you get my idea. All right, and you don't, some guys want to you're like happy, all the way down. Then if you want to add more lubrication, that's a great idea. In fact, if you add more lubrication on the inside, on the tip, before you roll it on, some guys say that it returns some sensation and makes it feel a little bit better. Now, one of the other mistakes people make is they try to do one of these, which all just smooth it all down. And there's nowhere for the semen to go. So when a guy ejaculates, it can squirt up the shaft and escape that way, so then nobody's protected. So you want to have this little baggy area at the tip to make sure there's a reservoir for the semen to collect. Now, have intercourse. You don't need my help for that. When you're done, as soon as the guy ejaculates, you should reach down and grab onto the base of the condom and hold it while he pulls away from his partner. Because if he doesn't, if the two of you stay connected and allow him to lose his erection, the vagina and the anus are not gaping tunnels. They are potential spaces, like socks without feet in them. Their goal is to collapse. So as the penis is getting smaller, it will collapse and hold on, and the condom can slip right off. So you'll be like, I thought we put a condom, where did it go? And you're searching through the sheets, and you're looking under the bed, and then the horror dawns on yourself. It's inside, it's leaking. So to make sure that doesn't happen, grab onto the base of the condom and hold it while you pull away from your partner. Then, you're just trying to take it off without spilling. You don't have to do any sort of special moves. Just kind of take it off like so. And wrap it up in toilet tissue and throw it in the trash. You don't want to put it in the toilet. They will eventually come back to see you. I learned that as an RA at Maine campus. Freshman girls, clogging up my toilet. So you definitely don't want to flush it. You want to wash your hands with soap and water and pull like boxer shorts back on before you do any touching with your partner. Just so you know, sperm does not die when it hits the air, it only dies when it dries. So if you have sticky fingers and you touch your partner between the legs, you could still have live sperm and you could still have germs there. Now, if condoms don't thrill you gentlemen, well, they should, but you haven't tried hard enough. You should go shopping and try on the different
Right, and if you don't like one kind, try different
Yeah,
kinds. There's
absolutely.
so many out there, yeah.
But if it comes to it that you just really, really don't like condoms, ladies, we have an option. And this is the female condom. These are made out of nitrile, so if you're allergic to latex, this is not going to bother you at all. These are normally lubricated, but I've just washed and dried this one, but just imagine lubrication. When you take it out of the package, they want you to smear all the lubrication around to make sure the whole thing is nice and wet. Then you use these fingers, trying to keep your pointer clean, to insert it into the vagina. You push it as far as you can, and then when you can't go any farther, take that clean finger and go inside and keep pushing until that ring pops up behind your pubic bone. If it doesn't get pushed in far enough, it'll poke you in the cervix and won't feel so great. And then this is what you see at the outside of the vagina. So as long as the penis is guided into the bag and not down next to the bag, you're both fairly protected against pregnancy and diseases. Now this one is not going to fall out or anything because an erection is lost. So while as soon as the guy ejaculates, you have to pull the male condom away, with this one, you could theoretically fall asleep connected. And some women really like this one because the outer ring can press against the clitoris, which can add some pleasure into what you're doing. Keep in mind, condoms are not just meant to be like safety devices. They're also kind of fun. For male condoms, some guys say they take away sensation. A little bit, maybe. But that means no premature ejaculation. You can have more time together. And some of the condoms out there have little bumps on them, little ridges on them. There's even some that vibrate. There's all sorts of fun to be had if you just look around. In fact, if you want to go road tripping, I think there's Condom Kingdom in Philadelphia and
Condom galore.
Condom galore.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those in Lehigh Valley, there's the one in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of fun to be had.
Any questions about that? How to put on a condom, how to remove it, female condom, oral barrier, where to get them from, expiration date. It could be fun. It also adds to fun because I think it gives you more of a sense of security. You're not nervous and worried.
Yeah, if you feel like you're safe, you
Yeah.
can relax more and enjoy yourself more, which is a great thing.
Yeah. Questions? Now's your chance.
Keep in mind, you always want to use condoms on sex toys. And if you're going from anal penetration to vaginal penetration or anal to oral penetration, you always want to switch out your condom. Again, because of the germs and the things that you were talking about that aren't necessarily STIs, but still ooey gooeys that you don't want in your mouth.
Germs that are common in a butt and healthy there aren't common in a vagina or a mouth and
Exactly.
aren't healthy there, and you can get an infection.
Yeah. Also, some people put in their safer sex kit, they actually put in like nitrile gloves, which come in like sexy black and blue and purple. Because, frankly, if you're the kind of person that has hangnails and calluses and that sort of thing, manual stimulation with a rubber glove and some lube will feel a lot nicer. And if you have any cuts on your fingers, that'll protect them, your bloodstream from infection. So people have gone really extreme with the safer sex stuff. And if you've been having unprotected sex with your partner and you think, oh gosh, we've been doing it that way for so long, how am I going to bring this stuff up? Sex can be fun, so you can be fun with it. You don't have to be all like, can we use condoms now? Blow up a whole bunch of them like a bouquet of balloons and introduce the conversation that way. Or if you like your partner to start using a dam on you, or like one of those latex barriers, make yourself a really ridiculous pair of bikini underpants out of saran wrap to introduce the idea. Or get some glow-in-the-dark condoms and surprise your partner with, look what I have. You don't have to be miserable about it. Just remember that it's something like 20 to 25% of all college students in America either have or have had an STI. It's something like 50% of us in America will catch one of these before we turn 25. So it's a reality here on campus. Although, if you do catch an STI, you know, when I was younger, they had this whole like question like, "Are you clean?" implying that someone who had an STI was unclean. And I think that's really unfair. If you've had an STI or you have one now, don't think that you're weird or gross or dirty or unworthy of love. It just means that you're sick. It's just like having a cold in a different area of your body than your face. And while, you know, we want to do what we can to avoid getting sick, just like we want to avoid getting the flu or getting a cold, we want to avoid getting STIs. If you get one, it's important to just go and take care of yourself and get it taken care of, get it cured or get it treated, and then be honest with your partners about it. Like if you have one of the incurable ones, like herpes, and you tell a partner about it, and they balk, they're like, "Oh, deuces, I'm out." You know, isn't that great that you weeded out someone who isn't good enough for you? You want to be with someone who will understand, you know, what the risks are and how safe you're being. And I always think that, like, you know, for every person who rejects someone who is honest and says, "Hey, I have herpes," how many of people are going to date after you that aren't honest about it?
Right. And also the resources that we shared, you can talk to anybody at those facilities. Here in Health Services, Amber at Planned Parenthood, the Redding Hospital Clinic, Berks AIDS Network. That's what we're just so in tune to that. So you don't have to be embarrassed to approach any of those facilities because they're there to help you. Any last questions before we end? Should we give her a round of applause? Now, we have